All right, I think we started.
Yes. Hello. We can't see everybody, but we can see ourselves.
Oh
And hopefully
shit. That is a lot. That's a lot of people.
just starting right out of the gate with cursing, Matt, huh?
I was half expecting nobody to show up, so
Uh,
I'm just really, oh wow, it keeps going.
yeah. Well, welcome everybody. We can't see you guys, but we are incredibly excited that you're here. I'll just do a quick little introduction of us. Again, thank you so much for joining us. This has been super fun to set up, and we're really excited to talk to you about QuestN and everything we have going. I'm Justin Ware. I'm one of the co-founders of Find Familiar Spirits and QuestN. And then we just want to introduce you quickly to the team before I hand you over to our, I'm the opening act basically for our headliner and our other headliners in the form of Allie and Tyler and Kate. But we have on the call Matthew Lillard. I don't know where he is and what box he's in for you, so I'll point to all of them and you can choose. Matthew Lillard, our other co-founder, and a gentleman you may recognize from a couple of little things here and there. Allie Ochoa, our director of spirits and master blender. Tyler Jacobson, our art director, illustrator, the man behind the bottle and the book and the images of those things, and the woman behind the story in the book, Kay Welsh, there as well. Lori Yeager-Madden is our CRM manager and also sends out the high roller stuff that you've been getting and sort of has been managing that stuff. We also have David Cohen, our director of procurement out of Jacksonville. And when you see Jacksonville on the bottle, that's David's responsibility. And also we had Peggy Carroll-Prescott for a little while, our creative director. She'll be popping back on at some point, but technology. So that's the basic team, and I want to thank all you guys for coming and joining us today. And I'm going to hand it over to Matt to do his thing.
Yeah, well, first of all, you guys, that is a hell of a list. A lot of people came out today, so thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I'm assuming most people on the East Coast because it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon here in California. So we're gonna get drunk in the middle of the day, and then we're gonna go out and do stupid things.
It's not in the afternoon. You're in a dark bar, Matt.
Oh yeah, shiver. I'm in the tavern, done by Titus, who's what is he? Tyler, where is he from? Sweden, Norway,
And Netherlands, right?
The
Netherlands.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I knew it was someplace exotic and
Titus Lunter, a legend.
unbelievable. He did that in like 24 hours. But okay. First of all, I think that look, our goal here tonight is you are the members of the High Roller Guild. Our part of the launch of the company is we really wanted to build this company around a sense of fellowship, around a sense of community. And the High Roller Guild is like the is paramount in that. And first of all, we are so grateful that everyone on this call and everyone in our HRG said yes to this opportunity for you to join us, to say yes, to commit to 4 bottles right off the bat is a huge impact for us as a company. We're able to use those funds to grow the company and build the business out even more. But it also signaled a real faith being put into us. And it was that thing when you're launching something, here comes Peggy in black and white. When you're launching something, you have such an incredible reaction. It just buoys you and it makes you feel empowered. And it was, as the HRGs were coming in, it was a really big deal for us. So this is the first of many events for the High Rollers Guild. And I'm supposed to do something. I'm supposed to remind everyone, if you are going to drink tonight, hopefully you have your bottles. There may be a lot of people that got Paladin +1 that don't have their bottles yet, but hopefully you can still enjoy whiskey with us if you so desire. But if you have your bottle, I'm a little embarrassed, Tyler. I don't know how your bottle's shaping up these days.
Ours is dead ass dry, man. We killed it tonight.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh yeah.
My wife and I have drunk most of this bottle. But if you're interested in a cube or a little bit of water in your whiskey, now is a great time to sort of open it up and pour a little taste in your dram. I'm not using a dram. What I am using, by the way, is I'm in a movie called Five Nights at Freddy's, which is kind of fun. And this is our gift that they gave the cast and the crew. So I'm using my Five Nights at Freddy's glass tonight, and I'm just gonna let it open up for a second. And then I'm gonna turn it over to Allie in a few seconds. But before we do that, as we're letting our liquid sort of open up a little, we're gonna do a little Q&A, a little conversation with Tyler and Kate. You guys, are you ready?
Yeah,
First of
baby.
all, Tyler, Kate, why don't I start with you? How did you get here? And what is it you do?
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm a narrative director in video games. I have been a long time game designer. I was a game designer on Dungeons and Dragons for several years, which is how I met Matt through playing Dungeons and Dragons. But the reason I'm here is because the story, and I will turn this over to Tyler in a moment. There was a morning, Tyler and I are married, and so it was like 9 a.m. and we're just getting out of bed, and I get a call on my phone that says Matt Lillard, and I'm like, excuse me, I'm so sorry, hold on, like show him the phone, like look who it is. And Tyler's never met Matt, and he's a giant movie nerd, and so this was the biggest flex that I could do. And he was like, fuck off. And so I answer the phone, and I'm like, hello, Matthew Lillard, how are you? And he was like, hi, can I talk to your husband? It was very, very fucking embarrassing for me to then have to like take the phone and tell my husband that Matt Lillard, in fact, wanted to talk to him. I'll turn that over to Tyler from there.
Yeah, the rest is history right there. No. Yeah, no, I mean, I've been a big, like, on the other end of the phone was the Matt Lillard, everybody. The Matt
This
Lillard.
is my favorite part of the business. We sit around usually for hours on end and talk about me. It's my favorite part.
I assume that's why you start businesses.
That's exactly where anyone starts a business.
It's good because you don't get enough attention in Hollywood. It's important to start a business because, Hollywood is so typically, shy about that.
By the way, there's been a lot of years that nobody gave a shit about Matthew Lillard. So if we can take a little second.
Yeah, what, like the whole first 17 years of your life must have been rough.
I've had a rough spot. Anyways, Tyler, please, how did you get here?
No, go on. No. So I've worked on D&D for most of my career. For the past 15 years, I've worked on D&D interior paintings and cover paintings and concept stuff, everything that you could do for D&D, I've pretty much done, aside from write the rules, which I left to Kate to do. But Matt was on the other end of the phone, and he told me, or at least expressed to me, that he loves D&D too, which I understood and already knew. But he was saying, this is an opportunity to bring that fandom to a whiskey label, which was something I'd never even thought about doing before, and I've never worked on until now. And I jumped in right away. I wasn't going to say no, because the idea of sort of bringing my illustration knowledge and some aspects of design knowledge to making a bottle, as well as accompanying lots of cool fantasy imagery, and bringing the community of fantasy game playing and tabletop role playing into whiskey, which I love. I'm a big whiskey fan. So bringing all these together was the perfect moment, and I jumped right in.
That's great. And then, Kate, could you talk a little bit about sort of the creative process and how we landed on Saren of the Pit, and sort of how we sort of as a team built that out, led by you, of course. But
yeah.
What was your input? Like what inspired that whole thing, and how did we get here?
So about 6 months after, maybe a year after Tyler started on the company, I had been like watching over his shoulder with all this FOMO, and then I got invited in to help write these stories for whiskey, which was not a concept that I was familiar with. But I know that the thing that we wanted to start with, and Matt and Justin, feel free to jump in here if I miss anything, but you had decided on this initial lineup for the first year of Paladin, Rogue, Warlock, Dragon, and starting with Paladin because of what a Paladin represents. The Paladin is often the protective heart of a group, and the kind of like righteous, sometimes obnoxiously righteous, but certainly the moral center often of a particular fantasy group, the one that wants to do right by everyone. And I feel like those values were kind of
what we wanted to put our foot into the community with. Was that like, we want to do right by this community. We want everyone to know like we stand the community and what this all means. So Paladin was our first offering. And I remember, Matt, I think it was you were like, I want a female Paladin. I want a kick-ass female Paladin. I was like, you came to the right place, homie. I can do that for you. And so one of the things that I wanted to do with Paladin was sort of subvert a lot of the Paladin stories that I've heard before over and over and over again, but also paying tribute to people who love their Paladins, who love to play Paladins, who love to see and hear about Paladins. I wanted it to feel like somebody wrote this story who really understands what a Paladin is. I've had the luxury of playing D&D very long term with two really excellent Paladin players, Anna Prosser and Ryan Hartman. And so I really love what the Paladin story. So Saren, I wanted her to start from like a real dark place. And this is one of the things I think we agreed on content-wise from the beginning, was that I want all of our stories to start with these characters kind of at like a real low trough in their lives. And that essentially what the core tenet of any great fantasy story and certainly D&D group is that we can do things with each other that we would have never been able to do alone. So that's something that, everybody's starting in this low place. Saren has just won her freedom. No spoilers. Hopefully, maybe I shouldn't talk about the story because we've got Paladin +1.
They've all gotten the book. They've all gotten the book by
Okay,
now.
they've all gotten the book.
Paladin
Okay.
+1 hasn't.
Are there Paladin +1s
Well,
in
they're
here?
mostly not on, so.
We don't really. I mean, we don't really. Everyone's been invited in HRG.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Okay.
Just speak
I'll-
loosely about
I'll
it.
speak
and then
loosely.
we'll-
Yes.
Yeah.
But Saren has just won her freedom from bondage, essentially. But the thing that helped her win her freedom and survive as long as she did has been taken away from her. So she's at this super, super low point. And that relationship that is so important for a Paladin, that they get their power and they get their sense of self-worth, and the constant prayer and worship that comes from their relationship with their God. And we wanted to do a really interesting God. I remember a lot of conversations about like, who is this God? How important is she? What is she? I had this real gritty, like, she's a god of death and murder. And you guys were like, maybe not, Kate. And so we've definitely we've tonally adjusted where we wanted Saren to be over the months. But it's just been so fun. And I really feel like the most important thing that I want to say about my contribution, mostly to y'all, but also to our HRG, is I've never gotten the chance to be so creative, just like open license. Like we had some core tenets, we had some ideas. Matt wanted it to be a female Paladin, absolutely. But the idea of just like, I'm gonna write whatever, and then Justin will make it good. That's been a really wonderful process for me. And from there, two really interesting things happened. So they're okay. The story went to Tyler, and he, we were brainstorming this story all together. So he had this idea in his head of who Saren was, and he was already drawing her way before I finished the story. But also, Allie got to hear about this character and what her deal was. And Allie then took it from that point and made several blends of like, what does Saren taste like?
I want to save that for Allie.
Of course.
But there is an interesting, Justin, you want to talk a little bit why we chose Paladin? I mean, collectively, why we chose Paladin?
Yeah, I mean, it was, as sort of Kate mentioned, it was, we wanted also our first one coming out of the gate to be sort of very, very clean, very strong. And we're eventually going to do them all, right? Because one of the big questions that we get is, when are you going to do my character class? Because people are very attached to the characters that they play, and of course everybody wants to see theirs. But we just just as a sort of an intro to the world, we wanted to sort of start with that.
Yeah, and the fact that you and I come from the film and television industry, and being able to have like something to hold on to, something you care about, like being drawn into something that is become a calling for both of us, I thought was, it really spoke to us as we're launching.
And then we started seeing Tyler's art, and then we're like, yep, we made the right decision. So Tyler,
there's two.
Can we talk a little bit about
Yeah, go
About
ahead.
Tyler, you want to talk a little bit about your process? It's certainly how you worked with Kate and how you sort of built all that stuff.
Yeah, totally. So Kate and I are very good at brainstorming, and we're very good at throwing ideas back and forth. So, offline when we weren't with the group, we were just kind of playing this concepting game, where she'll come up with ideas and I'll come up with visuals, and then that when the visuals might inform her ideas and her ideas might inform my visuals, and it starts to build up in there. There's sort of like an evolution of a character that comes out of that, and then we would run it by everybody in the group, and they would plus one, or they would add they would maybe shift, or they would give their input, and then they would evolve even more. So that's kind of how I've always enjoyed developing characters, and I've developed characters for D&D and Magic and all kinds of other brands, and I like to make characters really exciting but also very authentic. And I think that was one of our starting points, was to how do we get this authentic character to come across? And of course that's the backstory that Kate developed for it. But for me, it's all about, when I visually develop a character, it's all about the like tangibility of them. Does their costuming look worn and used? Does it look too polished or too clean? I want it to feel like it's got some grit on it, that it has a history and a story to it. And does the character look like they've had something go on in their lives? Do they have an expression on their face? Do they have marks or scars or wounds that represent the history that they are? I want to I'm very visual, so when I develop things visually, it's all about showing it and not telling it. And that's how I try to make my characters wear their history, so you can see it when you look right at them. And that's what I did with Saren. I try my best to make her feel like a paladin, but also to wear her backstory on her when you look at her.
Yeah, there's two greatest things about this company so far is when you get flavor tastings from Allie, and then Tyler's like, I've been working on a piece, and then he goes to his Pro Tools and it counts down like 5, and like he's sharing his screen and it counts down, and so it's like this big reveal of what Tyler draws. And to be fair, Tyler is world-renowned artist, and every time it comes on, it exceeds your wildest expectation. So it's super fun. Tyler, can you just talk real quick, and then we'll go to Allie. Can you talk real quick on what it was like to design the bottle? Because I think that's really interesting, because you haven't really worked on product stuff before, and here we are in the shield. Can you just talk about like how we're going about delivering the bottle over these first 4 drops?
Yeah, no, product design is definitely something that was totally new to me, and I leaned very heavy on Peggy. She was super helpful in this because she has so much experience with it, and so I'm coming at this sort of new. And for me, it was sort of, okay, we need a bottle shape, and we need the icon that goes on the bottle, and that's going to represent our brand. So I think early on we learned a lot throughout this process, all of us, because early on we were going to make a whole bottle and a mold and all of that business, and that turned out to be quite a process. And so we went along the route that we did to reach this bottle shape that we all really love. And that was new to me. I've never really worked from that design level, and how to interpret the feeling that we want to have for Paladin and for the whole brand of Quessen to live inside of this bottle shape. So I think I was leaning towards the one that we ended up going with, just because it feels monolithic, right? It feels like almost like a castle tower, where the way it stands, and it's strong, and it has that sort of legendary quality that I think really represents Quessen.
And the shield, talk a little about how we're doing with the shield, and then end on the map and just talk a little bit about the map.
Yeah, so the shield is great. This is an idea of, so when you're looking at tabletop RPGs, and there's sort of these archetypes for classes that we're using here. The Paladin, we've already previewed a little bit of what Rogue is, and there are all kinds of other classes like Barbarian and Sorcerer and Fighter, and just they all sort of represent all your abilities, essentially. So for this bottle, I wanted to have a symbol that represented the Paladin. And as we move forward, we're going to have symbols that represent our classes along the way. And so for the Paladin, she has a god, and her god is a light, and that was the symbol I wanted to put on her shield, was this sort of beaming star shape that kind of points out in all kinds of directions. And Peggy gracefully put my little doodles together into this really wonderful symbol that we have now in 3 dimensions on the bottle, which is really the applique, I guess is what we're going to call it, is just fantastic. It looks really good, looks really clean.
Yeah.
But then on the back, we wanted to have like a little detail, a little bit of reveal, essentially. So we printed this map that I put together along with Kate's original sketch for it. I put together this map that we kind of colored as close to whiskey as we could, so that you can kind of maybe see the texture of it when you look at the bottle, but as you drink, the map kind of reveals itself as you go down. And that was a fun little reveal that we wanted to do. And when you look at the front of the bottle, you get this feeling of like, oh, there's a map back there. There's a whole world that this whiskey inhabits.
Yeah. My favorite thing in the bottle is that as you drink down, I hope you've seen it, your hit points, you get stronger as you drink down. I'm not saying
Yeah,
you should
Nathan
drink.
just asked us that in the Q&A why the hit points go down, and it's because you're building your strength through a bottle of Quest-N.
Quest-N makes you stronger, not weaker.
That's right.
All right, good. Kate, anything else you want to add before we go to Allie? You're gonna obviously talk. We'll have all kinds of questions.
No, let's get to Allie.
All right, Allie. Everyone should have opened up their whiskey. Before we start, can you just explain a little about how you came to us and what you do for the company?
Sure. So I, since 2017, had worked for a whiskey company as a whiskey scientist and blender. And at the beginning of 2023, I left for a new agave spirits brand, and was ready to explore that world. But as I was going through it, I really missed blending whiskey. And I didn't have Matt Lillard call me, didn't know Matt Lillard before this, but what I did have was my old boss from TX Whiskey, Rob Arnold, give me a call. And it was just, hey, Allie, can you do consulting? I was like, hey, Rob, nice to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Yes, I would love to do consulting. And he gave me a little bit of a Sparks Note version of what Quest-N was doing, and I immediately loved it. And then on top of just kind of loving the concept that Rob had explained, once I met the team, it was a bit of a done deal in my mind. And I was just so excited to work with everybody and to get to create whiskey again.
And I think one of the interesting things that, in fact, one of the most interesting things about the company is how we put together the flavor profiles for each one of our bottles. I mean, right now we have 2 because Rogue is complete as a profile. You don't play Dungeons and Dragons, is that correct?
No, I actually I've had friends that play Dungeons and Dragons, but I think right after I started working with y'all actually sent me the player's handbook. So that I can learn a little bit and really start putting together flavor profiles. And I know, Kate and I had talked about one of the first calls. So I had met with the founders and the team, joined the team, and I was super excited. And they kind of gave me the idea of what it was going to be. It was creating whiskeys that match the characters. And on one of those first calls, everybody was on there, and Kate starts running down each of the characters, their personalities, a little bit of their backstories. And as she's doing that, I'm kind of like just scribbling down notes as fast as I can and just trying to pick flavors that I think would have associated with the class, with the race, with everything, their backstory, their favorite food, what have you. And just trying to see what flavors came to mind so that then I could start searching for those flavors. I got called a witch. Fine, it's a normal Tuesday, I guess. And
it was crazy. I had to stop you. It was crazy. So what we did is Kate's like, I'm like, what a paladin is, and Kate started not to describe paladins in general, but started to describe Saren of the Pit. And so as she's going through, Kate is very animated and very charismatic, and she starts spinning where she was at in the story. And as she's going, you see Allie scribbling away. And at the end of that, she's like, this is what I'm thinking for the character for Saren. And she lays out this flavor profiling, which is now presented in the Paladin bottle. And that's the thing. I mean, she's a witch, because what we do is we sort of like, this is the story we're telling. And then from the story, informed by these characters, informed by what we're building, Allie goes off and builds the whiskey to speak to that specific character. So much so that with Rogue, I mean, you want to talk a little bit about how, we were blending Rogue and Paladin at the same time. Can you just talk a little bit about that? And then we'll actually get into tasting. I had never done tasting in my entire life. Go ahead. Sorry, Justin.
No, I was gonna say there's just been a couple of questions, and obviously we're gonna do the Q&A at the end, but just since we're talking about it, there's been a few questions about just how you go about how you went about finding the barrels and how we went about building the mash bill and sort of what that process was once you started to get ideas of the characters. How did you then go about saying, okay, hey, this is the age barrels we want to go after, this is the kind of flavor profile, and let kind of tell people a little bit about how you actually went about building the blend.
Yeah, so I think something that we kind of decided about from the beginning, and Kate said so nicely, one of the beautiful things about Dungeons and Dragons is that the characters accomplish things together that they can't accomplish on their own. From the beginning, we decided that we wanted this to be a blend of straight bourbons, because we wanted these bourbons to accomplish something together that they can't on their own. So for the sum to be greater than the sum of it, or the whole to be greater than the sum of its parts, which super overused in blending, but it's a good phrase. So after going through the characters with the team and through the player's handbook, just kind of grabbing notes as far as where they might have been from, where they originated from, what their personalities were, what their what their class is, kind of just started associating notes that I thought like, oh, that kind of makes sense. So like, well, we'll get to that in a second, but just kind of had a list of flavors that I wanted to be present in the bourbon that we were crafting. And then, through our combined network, we started asking people for samples of minimum of 4-year-old bourbon. We wanted to make sure we at least hit 4. This blend is 4, almost 5, but 4 because it's bourbon, to I think 8, 9-year-old bourbons. And more than age, we were focused on the flavor profile that we could deliver. So we wanted to make sure that we had the best juice possible rather than a high age statement. So once those started coming in, I would taste through them either by myself or as a group and say like, oh, I like these flavors. I like these flavors. I don't like these flavors. And from there, again, the team, I really appreciate all the trust y'all had in me in buying bourbon, because it was a little bit of a cart before the horse. I couldn't make a blend until we had the barrels. So we had to buy them. And then I had to like really hope that I made the right call on the amount of barrels that we needed. And I brought them all home, and I just started, again, making blends based off of what I thought was going to work. And originally, Paladin and Rogue were going to have similar components, but they were going to be in very different proportions. I had a friend come over because I hate tasting by myself. Like I like collaborating on that. So always like a second opinion there. Her and I went through the 4 samples that I'd made for Paladin, and we tasted sample 1 and it didn't fit. It was delicious. It was so good. It was very high vanilla, very smooth, very rich, super easy to drink, but it wasn't Paladin. And then, so I kind of kept making different iterations, sent my favorite to the team, and I think we all kind of sat maybe for an hour and a half just discussing on Paladin on whether we went to one that was very easy to drink, but was more of a princess and a Paladin, or if we went with a sample that was 100% a Paladin. And I just really loved that conversation, that it kind of ended up of, no, let's be loyal to the story and let's be loyal to the character over anything else. So that is how Paladin came about.
Yeah, I'll never forget that conversation, because I was like, let's just switch. And Allie was like, no, you can't just switch. This is for one thing and this is for the other. The good news is that Rogue is imminent, and we may taste that blend very shortly. Okay.
Well, I think that seems like a good time with all of that to maybe pick up our
for sure.
glasses.
So Allie, as we go through this, I love the idea of you teaching people who may not or have never gone through a whiskey tasting, sort of how you approach it and what you're looking for and how to go about it.
Of course. So hopefully I'll all pour the sample beforehand, or the whiskey beforehand, and really it's just to let it breathe a little bit, let it warm up if it's cold where you are. Whatever glass you have is perfect. If you ever really want to get into nosing samples, I'd recommend one of these two glasses. I don't know if you can see them because of...
Put it in front of your body.
Oh.
Yeah, put it in front of your body.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
not okay, there you go.
That works.
Okay. So, and then all it does is, because of how it's shaped, the bulb on the bottom, all the aromatics can concentrate and then they're funneled up to the top. So any glass you have is great for today though. So first thing always with bourbon, one of the purest spirits you can get, like you can't add anything to it and still call it bourbon. So I always like to look at the color. It might give me some clues as to what I'm going to be tasting, but mainly I just like looking at the color. You can look at also the legs on it as it's dripping down to get a little bit of a hint of the viscosity and of the strength of it, just to see if you're going to have more oily mouthfeel or if it's just going to be a stronger spirit. So that has nothing to do with nosing or smelling samples. It's just, I see a lot of people always do that. So I figured we'd go through that a little bit too. All right, to start smelling it, first off, I wouldn't recommend swirling it as I am now. This is 100 proof. You're going to get a real big hit of alcohol, and then it's not going to feel so great. But I always say kind of approach your nose very slowly to the sample. Again, we wanted to make this as pleasant as possible, so it's just not to get a big ethanolic note. And as you start getting closer and closer to the edge, you'll get more aromas off of it. And I would say try maybe not to put your whole nose in there. And as you start to smell, it's all about just trying to isolate the aromas that you're picking up. So right now off the Paladin, I'm getting a little bit of soft vanilla, some apricot, some nice fruitiness, a good amount of spice, almost a little bit of marshmallows and cherries and just oak. And then just so that we finish up nosing 101, something else that's kind of cool that I think I showed this group last time is if you start nosing from the top of the glass and then work your way to the bottom of the glass, you're actually going to smell different aromas. So at the top, you're going to get more fruity, sweeter scents. As you work your way to the bottom, you're going to get some of those heavier, more cereal notes. So if you're ever just trying to play around and wants to see how the smell on it can change, I recommend that. And then if you want to see it change a little bit more, just kind of keep your mouth open a little bit while you're smelling. And what that's going to do is it's going to just encourage more aromatics to kind of come through than if you were to keep your mouth closed during nosing. And now the very fun part is you get to taste it. So, bottoms up responsibly. And I always say take a couple sips, get used to the alcohol, and then really start trying to break apart the flavors that are in there if you're trying to taste like I do when I'm blending.
Still good. We still got it.
Shelf life is working. I love it. So when we did pick Paladin, I really wanted to make sure it was faithful to Sarah the Pit, to the character that Kate wrote. And like I said, I think there's one sample that I blended up that was really good, really smooth, but it was a princess. And clearly Saren did not have a princess upbringing. So we wanted some of those spice notes, some of that heat to kind of reflect the challenges and the hard life that she's had, but then still some of that vanilla, some of that fruit to kind of smooth it out, to just kind of say she's on a new path, but still the trauma is still there, the challenges are still there. And I do also have to say thank you very much to Tyler and Kate, to the whole group, but especially to Tyler and Kate, because when I originally sent these samples off to the group for them to taste, I had told them I don't have good ideas sometimes. But I had told them, hey, let's wait for a group to hear how everyone, what they think. I don't want anyone to be biased, whatever. And then I spent a whole weekend just freaking out, like, oh my God, what if it sucked? Did they hate it? Like, I've heard nothing back from anybody. They just hated this. And thankfully Tyler and Kate sent me an email saying like, man, we really liked it. We have our favorites, but like, just y'all liked it. I was like, oh, thank God. So I could like just post until Monday and then hear everybody else's thoughts and that I was fired. But yeah, glad. Thank you for helping me out.
You're the AI version. You're the AI version we always wanted.
Yeah.
Allie, I hope you feel proud of it. I mean, I love it. We love it collectively. A reaction that we've gotten from fans and from members of our community that they're really stoked. In terms of this tasting, is there anything else you want to leave us with in terms of like general tasting, like how to go about it, like what your, I don't know, the best way to sort of encapsulate a finishing. Peggy, are you showing us your glasses?
She's showing us her water and her ice.
No, did you want to bring up that if anyone wants to try it with ice or water in
Yeah.
case it's a little too strong for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so if it's either strong or if you just want to keep playing with the flavor that's there, you can always add a couple drops of water, add ice. That dilution is really just going to break apart the ethanol water barrier, and what it's going to do is it's going to release other aromatics. So the smell and the taste is going to keep changing if you keep adding water to it. Always a really fun activity to do and just kind of explore. And 100 is a little bit of a higher proof, so you can always pick a better proof for you if you want to add water. There's no wrong way to drink it as long as it's done responsibly, and enjoy it. If you'd like to mix it, by all means, go for it. If you'd like to drink it straight with water with a rock, go for it.
And what are you looking forward to going forward with the company? Like what are some of the things that you're loving about this?
I love that each shop is going to be different, and it's just such a different approach to blending. I'm not trying to recreate the same blend over and over again. I'm not having to match something that's already been done. This is just so much fun, and it's getting to make the character come to life in the form of whiskey. So it's just a blast being able to create this, and having weekly calls with y'all and occasionally hanging out with y'all. That's also a blast.
It's good. David, as our head of procurement, so one of the things we did is this, our company's expanding. We had great success, Paladin, and then Paladin +1. And what we did is we had a woman with us named Deirdre, who was fantastic, helped launch the company. I don't know if she's here, but we always speak incredibly well of her. Without her, we wouldn't be where we're at today. But recently, as of December 1st, we brought on David Cohen, who's our director of procurement and is the gentleman that fills the bottles and sort of heads up all our production. David, can you talk a little bit about what it was like to work with Allie and bring Paladin to the community?
Absolutely. So we're as you mentioned, we're at Jacksonville. We're at Manifest Distilling, which is a craft distillery, and we're doing all the filling and collecting of all the materials to get ready for each bottling. And we did Paladin there, and I had the joy of getting to work with Allie. She came down for an initial blending in Jacksonville, and that's where we got to pull different barrel samples. It's one thing, and I will say blending is incredibly difficult, and I think it's finally getting its day in the sun again. And I think one thing that she's done really well, which we've talked about a lot, was this idea of creating a flavor profile and a blend around a character, which is super unique, super cool, something I was really excited to learn about. But then the whole other part of that is she's receiving all these different samples from people, and they're small bottles, they're different samples of different barrels, and then we order those barrels and then they get to us, and then by the time we actually harvest or take samples out of the barrels on site, stuff can change. So there's a lot that happens between that initial blend and then coming down, us actually pulling liquid out, creating the on-site blend, which is what everybody has, which is what you guys have in your bottles. And that's a whole nother element that really nobody gets to see. And obviously we get to see that, and we get to work with Allie, and she's a great blender. She's a lot of fun to work with. I think she killed this flavor profile. And as we move forward and design the rest of the flavor profiles, it's already been a ton of fun just getting to work on some of those with her.
Right on.
Great. Well, we're going to, this has been absolutely fantastic. We want to get a chance to get to some of your questions. We've gotten really phenomenal. Thank you guys, everybody who's been sending this stuff in. Your questions are fantastic. And we're not going to be able to get to all of them. If you do have, you know, I will remind you guys before we start asking that, you know, we have the HRG at Quest and Whiskey email. Certainly, you're welcome to hit it up. There have also been a couple people have asked whether or not, you know, there's going to be sort of more forums and things that we're putting up on the site, and we are working on all of that stuff so that we can, you know, we really want to be able to interact with you guys as closely as possible. But we've got a couple of questions that we've gotten a few different times, and one, and I'm going to put Matt. This one's for you, Matt, because a number of people have asked. Lisa asked, and a number of other people, how did you first get into D&D, and what is your background in this world? Because you are OG. And I think that comes through in your love for this.
Old
but
guy.
A lot of people are
Yeah.
curious how that started.
Yeah. So look, I was the generation this game was born into, right? I'm 53 years old. I'm almost 54. I'm this close to death. And I was a kid. I would run around in Orange County. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I moved to Orange County when I was 10. I was an obese little teenager, and my little pack of friends in Orange County, California, a little town called Tustin, would run around and play all kinds of things. We'd play war, we'd play football, we would play like diorama games in the backyard, and then eventually a kid named David Larson's like, there's this new game called Dungeons and Dragons, we should play. It was really about getting on our bikes, riding 3 miles down to the little hobby shop.
There's this new game.
Yes,
Dragon.
That's 100%.
You're so old. Sorry.
I'm the oldest man here. I'm the oldest man here. And driving and getting on our bikes. Fat Matt, I was an obese teen. Both my mom and dad, I love them dearly, are both obese. So I grew up a very fat teenager. My mom and dad worked full time, so I would eat nothing but McDonald's and Taco Bell. And so I would literally get on my bike with my friends, and we would ride down to a little hobby shop, and we'd buy the little lead figures, and we'd ride back and we'd paint the lead figures, and we'd play that character for like 10 days until we got bored, and then we'd go to do something else. And there was like a whole cycle, because like, you know, in like 4 weeks, you'd be bored of everything else, and you go back and go down and buy another lead figure and paint the lead figure and then start playing the game. And so for me, I played the game until like junior high school. I stopped playing when most normal people stop playing Dungeons and Dragons, because there were girls, and I was like, really wanted to be not the nerd I already was. And so you try to avoid that at all costs. And then when I went to acting school, I have a company called Beetle and Grimm's, which is very integral to our success here at Quest End and Find Familiar Spirits. So we love Beetle and Grimm's. So I started Beetle and Grimm's with four of my best friends, and we all started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was 21 years old in acting school. And so we launched Beetle and Grimm's 5 years ago. And it was in that moment of launching Beetle and Grimm's that I understood the power of building something premium for a base of people that everyone else discounts. I think that people discount people in the RPG space. I think that sometimes people transact on our passions, but nobody really was building premium goods for people that play Dungeons and Dragons. And that's what Beetle and Grimm started to do, from a point of passion, from a point of like authentic connection to the community. And that's why when we started Find Familiar Spirits, a lot of people probably don't know the story, but Justin, why don't you talk about real quickly how we started this company in general, right? I think that's interesting, especially for HRG.
Yeah, well, one of our partners who's not on this call is a gentleman by the name of Tim Sparapani, who's one of the founders of Blue Run, which is a very successful but also relatively new whiskey brand. And I just saw how much fun he was having working in this space, and called Matt, and I knew what he was doing with Beetle and Grimm's, and our thought was we just have been whiskey drinkers for a long time, and so fantasy fans. Matt is obviously a huge table, already was so ingrained in this world, and we just thought it would be a really fun thing to sort of marry these two worlds. And then when we started working on the creative and getting the opportunity to work with people like Tyler and Kate and putting the team together, Matt and I are both Hollywood people. I'm a screenwriter on my day job, and Matt is Matt. And the working in this space with these people it's just a really fun, supportive. I mean, honestly, in many ways, we talk a lot about how tabletop gaming and whiskey are kind of oddly similar. They're both very social. They're both very much about community. They're very much about people support and love the specific sort of brands, and the two worlds just became a very sort of natural marriage.
I just real quick, Todd Stashwick is on this call. He's an HRG member. Todd Stashwick is one of the great gifts in Dungeons and Dragons. He was on Picard season 3. He coined the phrase, and I use it all the time. The Venn diagram between whiskey drinkers and Dungeons and Dragons players is a perfect circle. And to that end, I have literally his Nerd Circus glass sitting right next to me. He's an amazing member of this community.
Well, and Matt, that was another question just to follow up on that. And a couple of people have asked Richard and a few other people why we went with whiskey for Quest-N, and we have looked at other liquors. We had the conversation at the very beginning, and so I certainly
I think that it's interesting. I think that the interesting thing about people drinking whiskey is not just a brown alcohol. There's a story associated with every bottle, right? That there's it's aged. It's like people talk about where it's aged from, like how it's built, and I think that there's time spent in the curation of incredible whiskey. And I think the great thing about Dungeons and Dragons is that you spend years of your life building these relationships around a campaign. And I think together, those things are very similar, right? That the story in the whiskey and the story spent around the table is there are this rich tapestry of legends. And I think that's why it makes a perfect connection. As a company, we are continuing to grow. We are continuing to do other things as well. This is sort of our flagship brand, but we are expanding and we're going to do other things. But to build this brand around whiskey made absolute sense, or bourbon made total sense.
Yeah, there's been a number of questions, and again, I apologize we can't get to all of them, but a few people have asked about, Remy asked about D&D specific merch. There's a few things that we have coming in that arena that are going to be pretty exciting, and a number of people have asked about other sort of ways to grow within the RPG space with companies and creative partnerships. And Matt, you want to talk a little bit about how we see that?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to shout out David's son just walked in, who's adorable, and it's
so cute.
only a matter of minutes before your daughter walks in.
I'm amazed my daughter has not walked in and interrupted already.
Yeah,
which is even better because we have pub scene backgrounds, so that's
right.
hilarious.
You have a child.
I'm from Wisconsin. You can have kids in
ages.
bars in Wisconsin, so it's not that unusual for me.
That's hilarious. Yeah, listen, I will say that we have in January Lori, who's our community manager, who's unbelievable at her job, and we wouldn't be here without her tonight because she's leading this charge. We are putting out a survey. This is actually pretty important. We're putting out a survey to our community. Here's the thing, you guys, we sold Paladin out in 2 weeks. We put up a waiting list because we thought we would have breakage bottles left over. So anywhere between 10 to 50 bottles maybe left over for breakage. By the way, we only lost 1 bottle in shipping, which was pretty incredible. So we put up a sign-up list because we're like, oh, we have these 25, 50 bottles. We want to make sure we get more people involved in the community because our whole thing is we want to build community around this space. We ended up with 25,000 people on the waiting list, which is the reason we went back to introduce Paladin +1. We, in this moment of having sold all this bourbon, we don't know who our community is. So as of January, Lori's going to put out a survey. It's super important for us as a company. If it lands on your in-desk and you have your inbox and you have a few minutes, if you can fill it out, it will be profoundly important to us as a company to grow to what you are interested in. And we are most interested in satisfying who you are as a high roller guild. You are our core base. You are what we're building around. You are our most important customers. So if and when you get your survey, if you can fill it out, that'd be important. Look, we believe that a majority of our customers are D&D players. There's definitely going to be some whiskey collectors in there, but if you are a D&D player, we have very exciting things coming for you. I don't know if D&D players in general, this is a tease like dice, but we think D&D players love dice. And so there may or may not be an opportunity for us to curate and create incredibly high-end premium dice to go with your whiskey experience. I don't know if it's going to happen, but hypothetically it could. Is that a good tease? Or did I go?
That was a very, very good tease. But yeah, I mean, there's one of the things we're going to be doing with the survey is
I'm now drunk, by the way, dude. I'm not a good drinker. It's 4:00 in the afternoon.
It's almost 5 now.
I know, but I'm drunk. I've now had too much.
But we really, there's been a bunch of questions that have come in that have asked about things like asked about dice, asked about getting the background. Someone asked if they could get the background for their computer, and I feel like we could definitely make that available if you want to do that as your desktop. But also there's a number of questions about sort of expanding the world, and our goal here is to make this feel like a larger full world, and we want to have the story. I don't think it's giving too much away to say that we do plan, we have the sort of initial burst is going to be 16 drops. We're going to do all the character classes and some creatures as well. Obviously dragons coming, that. And
Kate, are you excited about the I jumped in, Justin, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Kate, what are you excited about in terms of going forward? Tease motherfucker, tease.
Okay. I am excited about a narrative challenge that I still am not 100% certain how we're going to solve, because I am the one who has been championing since the beginning. We got to do character classes for these bottles, right? And Justin very intelligently.
Oh, I did not agree.
No.
Disagreed.
You totally disagreed, and you were wrong, and you've admitted it. But no, Justin, what I was going to say is that Justin was like, that's great, Kate, but how are you going to handle that narratively? Because there are 12 freaking character classes. Are you going to write a story with 12 main characters? And I was like, that's a problem for future Kate to figure out. So I am really excited to figure out how we thread that needle. I don't know. There's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of cool stuff we could do with it, but whatever we end up doing with it, I'm excited for the challenge. I'm excited for the flex to figure
Tyler,
it out.
what are you excited about for Rogue? Because we've all now read Rogue and seen Rogue's art. We are in pre-production.
Gorgeous.
So everyone knows, like we are working on Warlock. We just delivered the Warlock badge. The Warlock badge is filthy. I mean, we just saw it. It's so cool. I think it's ridiculous. And now we're dreaming about Dragon and what that's going to be. But what are you excited about for people to get Rogue?
I'm most excited about them to kind of see. We're doing something really new, at least to me and my experience in the fantasy genre. I think we're doing something kind of cool, and I'm excited for them to see what we've invented, essentially.
We've invented.
I don't want to spoil it.
Don't spoil it. But
it's a new kind of fresh take, and I'm excited to see what people think.
That's good. That's a good tease. That's a great tease.
A real tight tease there.
Very good.
Yeah, and for all the questions about people asking about toppers, people asking about figurines, people asking about stuff like that. When we do the survey, if there's something that you want, that you think would be cool in the world, feel free to tell us, because we are. We really do read every single email, and
Lori reads every single email,
and we really are trying to respond to everybody individually. And, you know, if we're building this world, people have asked, you know, can we do a campaign? Michael just asked that. You know, who knows? That's Kate. That's what Kate does. That's Kate's wheelhouse.
I mean, why not? Right? Why the fuck not?
I want to
Right.
say real quick, having done these things a lot, the fact that we still have 192 signed-in people is bananas. The fact that we have dropped, I think, 2 people in an hour, that's
Yeah, thank
crazy.
you,
So
guys.
thank you for staying with us. We won't go much longer. I want to make sure we respect people's times. Justin, you're watching the Q&A. What else do you have for us?
I mean, there's been a lot of questions that unfortunately, you know, we can't get to, but if it's a logistical question of, you know, something like, you know, what other things are you going to be offering, you know, are the books going to be the same length, things like that, feel free to send those as emails, and we will answer them if we didn't get to it. You know, our goal is, sorry, our goal is to keep the story going, you know, as long as we can. But I will do one last quick question.
It doesn't have to be the
because
last one. I'm not ready
It
to
doesn't have to
leave
be the
yet.
last one, but I wanted, this is a speed round question,
Okay.
because at least 10 people have asked, what is your favorite character class for the people who play on this? Allie, Allie, you don't know this, but you're definitely an artificer. So
Oh God, yeah.
you're an alchemist. So we
For
can
sure.
do.
Alchemist.
But people want to know what characters you play and what your favorite character class is.
I'll call it out. Tyler, you go first.
Oh man. I am almost always like something, you know, a barbarian, but lately I've really enjoyed a thief, and I played a thief in one of
Why
Kate's
the
games.
why?
Do the voice. Do the voice.
Oh, if I'm like getting over being sick, but I can do the voice. I'm like a little tiny Michael Caine. So that's he's a little gnome thief character.
It's good, mate. It's fucking
Tiny
great.
Michael
You know what I
Caine.
mean?
He just
It's
needs
right.
his little things. He needs to
like
get
the
his
little
little
things.
things.
That's hilarious. Why do you like a thief? You have to ask, here's the question. You have to ask what your favorite class is and why.
So I enjoy, my favorite thing about D&D is the role playing. So I really like to do something that I don't want to be me in the game. I want to be somebody completely different. And so the rogue was, or the thief, I guess, that I was playing was just like, you know, mischievous and little grabby hands and like sneaking around in the dark and all this kind of stuff that I am not usually that kind of person. And the character as well was totally different from me. So I like to kind of inhabit a whole nother character when I play.
Nice.
I don't even care about the rules. I just want to be somebody else.
Nice. Kate, what do you like to play and why?
I love to play a druid because my whole life I have dreamed of being able to turn into an animal. And that's really it. That's the whole wish fulfillment for me. I would make, if I had money to make my own video game, I would make a game that was just about turning into different animals. I love that. That's the wish fulfillment.
That's good. Anyone? So
What about you, Matt?
Justin, you played.
I'm going to admit here that that my favorite thing to do when I played was be the dungeon master.
Nice. We all need more DMs. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think maybe there's
But
control
why?
freak issues there. I'm not sure, but no, because I'm a storyteller. I'm a screenwriter. I liked being able to sort of drive the narrative and really build the world and paint the picture, and that to me was you know, other than the fact that I didn't get to roll dice and kill things,
Right.
that was my favorite part.
I have to say, when we started the company, Tim Sparapani, our spirit whisperer, sold Blue Run to Molson Coors. I got a movie called Five Nights at Freddy's, which has changed my life. And then Justin Ware sold a movie to Snoop Dogg, and he's doing a movie at Universal where Snoop Dogg is the lead. So we all had this like incredible. The minute we said yes to this, the world exploded for us in other aspects. And then we went into a strike for 8 months, which was fantastic. David, you don't play Dungeons and Dragons. Do you? What about? Do you like Dungeons and Dragons? Like what? When we do play Dungeons and Dragons, what class are you going to play and why?
It really, I don't know. So growing up, it was like kept from me. It was like a dark art. My parents were like, "No, you definitely shouldn't play that." And I was like, "But it looks like so much fun. I want to play it." But so I've been completely starved of it. So I'm a noob, a total noob. I don't know all the character classes. So you'll have to tell me what character class should I play.
Dude, you're so
Mhm.
smart. You're a wizard. I would call you a wizard. You're casting. You're making things happen all the time. You're
All right, I'll take it.
yeah.
Wizards are the
Um,
book nerds though, so like it's also kind of a dig. You
oh
gotta
yeah, he
understand.
could be a warlock. There's a
For sure.
warlock, like it's incarnate, like this idea, like I'm savage. You're the rock star version of a caster is a warlock, but you serve
Okay.
usually you serve a dark patron.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's fine. It doesn't have to be a dark patron. Sometimes
It's metal.
it's a nice patron that
It's
has
very rarely a nice
It's-
patron.
Yeah. And Peggy, you're definitely a sorcerer.
I wasn't sure what I was. I
Maybe a
did
bard. It depends how much she's had to drink.
and I did an online quiz and it said druid, but so I don't really know. I do have the bragging rights. I did bring in a D&D club at our child's junior high. So
There you
I
go.
haven't played it yet, but I've been learning about it. I've been watching people play it. And I really love it, and I can't wait to play. Somebody commented the next live one should be all of us playing, but some of us are new, and that would probably be embarrassing for us.
No, there's no
Uh-oh, Matt.
We're
Uh-oh,
losing
Matt.
Matt here.
You've gone
Either that or
robot.
Matt is pretending that we're losing him because it's after 5.
Am I gone? Am I
You're
gone?
back. You're back. You're back.
Oh my God. Was
But
my
I just want to
face
acknowledge
melted
Chris
in a
asked
hor-
how our hit points are after this session, and I definitely want to say I've picked up at least 10 hit points.
I'm max for sure.
Oh,
max.
nice.
Oh yeah, Matt, you got to
Okay.
say your class though.
Yeah, Matt, what's your class?
So my favorite class is druid, not because I like to change in animals. I like to have a core meaning. I like to fight on behalf of something, which is why I love paladins, why I love clerics, this idea of like being guided by something larger than myself. And then I love the idea of being able to cast simple spells that make huge impacts. The idea of, talk to animals or animal friendship or these little pieces of like, I'm not a big damage guy. I like to do, in the way I was raised in Dungeons and Dragons, is cool moves get bonuses. Cool moves are the way you play. That's the thing that's celebrated at my table. So for me, a druid allows you to do entangle or, or a message spell at the right time. Like those are the kind of things I love to do. And then shapeshift. I'm always circle the moon because
Well, you're an
I
actor.
love to change
Yeah.
into creatures to do interesting things rather than do damage.
Well, the next I was going to say the next Zoom we'll do our alignments.
Oh no, we're not done. I don't want it to end.
No,
Kate,
we
what
gotta
were you gonna
end.
say?
Matt, some of us have other things we gotta do, buddy. You can stay on.
Kate.
I'm sorry.
we're gonna do more of these, Matt. Don't worry.
I wanted to say also, Peggy, you were talking about like being shy about not playing. I will dungeon master a game for all y'all.
I would love that.
I saw a couple people
That
in
would
the
be
chat
super fun.
being like, hey, no, literally all of you guys, you want to do a High Rollers Guild actual play session at some point? Like, let's do
Sure.
it. I know the dungeon. You're welcome to Dungeon Master too, Justin.
No, I mean I haven't done it since the original the original AD&D from
I'm not worried about any of you. I have DM'd for 2 of you already. And DMing for Matt is one of the Herculean tasks required of a dungeon master to like earn their wings. Because yes, innocently he protests.
Why? No.
Oh, you're great to play
This
with.
man is pure fucking unbridled chaos, and I love it. So I would love to DM for this group.
So guys,
I love it.
real quick. I know that we're on publicly and I don't really care. Kate, so everyone should know that we are breaking season 2 of Quest's End. in January. We're going up right before my birthday. We should, that's Peggy, myself, and Justin. Kate, we should play everyone in like a one shot.
Of course.
Let's do that.
I
Okay.
am
Let's do it.
both excited and intimidated at the thought of playing D&D with you guys.
Oh, it'd be awesome. Two things I have to say before I know we have to get out here, and I really don't want to leave. Two things. We didn't really talk enough about Peggy. Peggy is, and I've said it multiple times, if we had 3 Peggys, we could solve world hunger. You are the single most powerful tool in this tool belt. Without you, I don't know where we would be.
You
From
said you're a tool, Peggy.
That's what I said.
She saved us
But he
all.
means it in a
She
good
saved
way.
us all.
In a good way.
Like
Okay.
Inks's mace kind of tool.
Yeah, when you
Very-
were talking about Peggy's class, I was like, there is no class. I was trying to think of it myself. There is no class that encompasses all of the things that
All
Peggy
the things.
does.
Yeah.
Like Peggy is our dungeon master for real.
Oh,
She is.
sweet.
Peggy's incredible, and she helps
Aw.
make this company run. We are ever growing. Having David on board, having Lori on board, has been a huge boon for this company. And just so you know, if you're out there and watching this, we are super blessed to have you on this journey. We wouldn't be here without you. And the launch of this company was more successful than we ever expected, and great things are coming. So we need to know if you're happy. We need to know if you're unhappy. We want to serve this community. HRG is essential to our growth. And the fact that you guys jumped in without tasting a single drop and just said yes is an unbelievable privilege. So bless you and thank you. 2 things. There's 2 things you can do to help us. We are constantly looking to expand. Our biggest fear is that we've collected only this community and we need to continue to grow because we are continuing to grow this line. So if you have friends that are interested, please turn them on to us. If you're happy and excited, please turn them on. Second of all, yeah, tell your friends, and that's it. That's really it, right?
Yeah.
Just, if you're
And let us
happy,
know, and be communicative with us because we promise we're listening. So if
oh,
there's stuff that you
we
want,
listen.
we're
We
listening.
listen way too much.
Probably
We-
too much. It's true, but
We listen a lot.
They say don't read the comments, but we're reading them.
we read it all.
We make
And on
changes
social.
based on comments. We make changes based
Delightful.
on comments.
Yeah, and on our socials as well.
Yeah, and
Oh, join our
follow the socials, and check out the merch if you want to if you haven't seen that yet. We've got our exciting stuff there. Peggy did a lot of work on that too. Thanks,
I saw
Peg.
people in the chat being like, "Hey, do you sell glasses?" We sell glasses, unless we're sold
Yeah,
out of them. But like,
we've got a
just
bunch of requests for these, and these will probably be next up. We'll
The Glen
we'll-
Cairn
We'll
style.
put those. We'll put them
Yeah.
on. I don't
The
have.
tulip.
I don't even have one. So
Well,
Yeah.
you got to get on that. Well,
you
now
can
I
put
know
it,
what
we'll
to
put it
do
on the
for
merch
Christmas.
store, and then you can buy it full price.
And they sell out quickly, but we're increasing our orders because as we learn what you want, we're trying to fulfill those.
great, awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to your emails. We look forward to doing this. We're doing this again. In Lori, when are we doing it again?
Sometime in January.
Sometime in January. Then we'll do it again around the +1's landing. But
Yeah,
thank
that'll be in
you.
the spring.
Yeah, and thank you to this team, this incredible team. Honestly, just spending time with you guys every time we do this, super fun. So much love, and hey, happy holidays.
Yeah,
Happy
thank you all for
holidays,
joining us.
everybody.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers, guys.